Pearls versus Turds time. This is the feature of the show where we take a bit of received LSAT wisdom from the internet and we tell you whether it's a pearl or a turd. Leaderboard update. So far in the history of the show, there have been 8 pearls, 35 turds, and 18 ties, which, let's be honest, are more turds than pearls. Point of this is there's a lot of really bad LSAT advice out there. I hear bad LSAT advice every single day, every single class. Somebody asks me a question about some tip they heard, and they're all bad.
By the way, this reminds me of the personal statement workshop that we did. And if you missed that and you're a Demon subscriber, check it out in the lessons. But when we got to that one personal statement, I think it was by LL or LM or whoever, right? And it wasn't like terrible. And you said at some point, you're like, this one isn't actually horrible or something like that. And the chat blew up with people saying, that's awesome. Way to go. Nice work, LM.
This isn't total dog shit. So that was the nicest thing Nathan's ever said about somebody's personal statement. Yeah, there's bad tips. You want to hear a bad tip I heard from class last night?
Yep.
So my man, Michael, I love this dude. He's been in class now for a couple months. He's very interactive. He's a super smart guy, but he's got some kind of crazy ideas. And this idea was, when guessing, Michael always guesses A. And I'm like, I don't care what letter you guess. Just pick the same letter. I don't give a shit. Just quickly all the same letter.
Yeah.
Michael was like in the chat. He's like, oh, well, I always guess A because when I go back to do the question, right? Because I'm going to do all my guesses and then I'm going to go back and do the question. But when I go back to do the question, because A is the first answer, it's slightly faster for me to read it and eliminate it. And I'm like, come on, bro. That's only going to help you on one question max, right? Like that's only going to help you on the very last question that you're able to do before time runs out. And even then, it's only going to help you by like 5 seconds. So like, I'm like, dude, that tip is worth at most, I think I said 1/10 of 1 point. But I would like to revise that down to more like a 1/100th of 1 point or something like that. And there are a lot of those tips out there where it's like, well, theoretically, like mathematically speaking, sure, it might be worth something, but it's still a turd because there's no.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that I actually think consistently picking the same answer could be valuable for someone for a totally different reason. And that being that when I don't know, when you start, even this is like so marginal, but when you start answering the questions that, in those last 5 minutes, it's like kind of confirming to you that you're in that guessing state, right? It's not one that you've attempted at some point, or it's less likely to be.
But I hear that. I just don't care whether it's always A, always B, always C,
doesn't
always
matter.
D, or always E. It literally doesn't matter. I've always been on Team D.
It's also good because then at least that decision is made, right? So it's like you get the 5-minute warning. Okay, I'm going to go do all A's. And we're not wasting any time thinking about anything.
Yeah. I agree. I pick your favorite letter. I don't give a shit which one, what it is, but like this analysis of like, well, it's faster to get, what I actually had to say to Michael was, dude, that actually could be hurting you because this theory shows that you're thinking about it all wrong. In the last 5 minutes, you should guess on every question that's remaining. And then you should do one more question accurately. And then if you have time, you should do one more question accurately. But that's clearly not what he was thinking. What he was thinking was, oh no, I'm going to like rush through all 6 of my guesses. And if I had picked A, then I'll be able to more quickly eliminate it. And it's like, dude, what are you telling me, that you're not even reading all the answers for those questions? I mean, it just it made no sense. So, okay. Here's the actual pearl versus turd that's on our agenda. Hi. I recently watched a consulting video. In it, the company offers a tip to LSAT takers: narrow the goalposts. That is, try to complete sections a few minutes faster than necessary during practice tests.
This one's been out there for a while.
Yeah. This one is an old school turd. It's a I was going to say desiccated, but the word I was actually looking for was petrified. It's a petrified turd. His reasoning is that, like how football kickers narrow the goalposts during practice, giving yourself less time on PTs will make the actual test seem easier, given that the conditions are more favorable. Pearl or turd? Thanks, Anonymous. It's not just football kickers. I'm a golfer, and some golf courses on the practice green, they will have a cup that instead of the normal size of a cup, which is 4 inches or whatever, they'll have a cup that's like half that size, like a little tiny baby cup, 2 inches. The idea being, hey, practice on this like super small target, and then when you get out there on the golf course, it'll feel like you're putting into a coffee can, just I think there are basketball hoops that are smaller that people practice on. There's got to be all kinds of other running uphill with weights, right? So that on the actual race you feel like Superman. So the analogy makes sense, but is it apt?
It does not apply. When you are practicing for the LSAT, we tell people to do the exact opposite. If anything, we're saying expand the goalposts and don't think about the time. Get 100% correct on the ones you get to, and then we know you can get to the next question eventually.
Yeah. If you all this tip is doing is encouraging people to think about the time too much and to race the clock and skim the surface and not really understand what you're doing. I don't care that you're able to finish the section in 31 minutes. I mean, your accuracy probably suffered as a result.
Maybe here's a more apt analogy, bringing up golf and in this case football. But I remember when I was in college, there were these like golfing applications that came out where you'd put like these, you'd attach like electronic equipment essentially to your like arms, and then you'd swing and it would track your swing, and then it would tell you all this stuff about your swing, right? I'm sure that's all been perfected by now, but it was kind of new at the time, I think. But the bottom line was you went slower on your swing, right? You're like trying to get your swing right.
Yeah.
And then you're going faster.
They do all that shit with cameras now instead of stuff that's attached to your body. It's like cameras and lasers and that type of stuff. But yeah, I hate this tip. This is all this does is it encourages people to do the exact opposite of what we want them to do. I do want you to time yourself on your practice, but I want you to basically ignore the clock. And if you're timing yourself, I want you to use the actual time that you're going to have on the day of the test. Certainly not less than, and try to race the clock. This is encouraging people to game it and to try to half-ass it and to not really understand. I mean, the way you score really high on this test is you actually understand each question. You solve each question, not skim it and guess, not even half guess, but figure out the correct answer, because the correct answers make perfect sense. And that takes how long it takes. And you can score in the 90th percentile. 165, right, is roughly the 90th percentile. You can score 165 by only doing 90% of the questions easily. It's not even difficult to beat 9 out of 10 other test takers. All you got to do is get like the first 20 in each section right. That's only 80% of the questions. If you get the first 20 right in each section, you're in the 90th percentile.
Yep.
So this narrowing the goalposts idea is just terrible. So that's another turd.